Problem.
You're the problem.
That's true.
Always the problem. Robin, the boy blunder. We have had more fun together. He rides me, I kid him, but we have a great time, and especially doing Batman, because every day, every hour, it presented a new problem, but new laughs. And that's how we did the show on several levels. For the fun, as you get older, to see the gags and the jokes, and when you're kids, to be caught up in all that splash and adventure and learn how to live your lives. A Batman line, and that's why I'm here, and Burt's here today on time. Batman would say, Robin, better to be 3 hours early than a minute late. Those homilies, you see, they worked.
Hey guys, y'all can ask Mr. West questions if you like.
Got a question. Both of you had pretty big opportunities, or became pretty big opportunities afterwards while you were filming Batman that you turned down. Adam West, you had an opportunity to play James Bond, and you had an opportunity in The Graduate.
Well, I didn't turn that down. Unfortunately, the studio wouldn't let me do it because they did not want to dilute the image of that created with this enormous success of Batman. In other words, by me portraying another role, they felt that it might in some way take away from the reality to kids of me being Robin. And of course they found some other actor, I think it was a guy named Dustin Hoffman, to do the role. But yeah, which is really an amazing thing because wow, I mean, it just shows you how things can be spectacular, good or not so good. Anything can happen in the movie industry.
And you look back now, and you guys are iconic. So I mean, I was just wondering how you felt.
Well, it's like life, you know. I mean, we all have trade-offs. You know, something good happens, something bad happens, you have to deal with them and try to balance your life in some manner. Now, for example, we're not doing the new Batman movies, the Dark Knight stuff. So we do miss the $20 million. However, the response that we get, the turnout, the love from people really makes it all worthwhile. Because how many icons are there in pop culture? Not many. And luckily we became that. And that in itself, it's a matter of branding. And at first, when the series was over, you know, you feel like, I got fired now, another job's over, and I got to get something else, and so on. Whatever comes along, and it's a lot of luck involved. But branding is terribly important, but we didn't look at it that way in the beginning. We thought, yeah, we're screwed. We'll never do anything else. You know, people loved the series, and we wore costumes, and we'll never get a job in other roles. But you know what? About 4 years after we folded the series, I began to think, and I know Burt did too, branding isn't bad if you'll use it and develop it. You know, look at Coca-Cola, look at Kraft Foods, look at the Donald. Well, now it's the Burt and the Adam. You know, it's just a matter of branding and writing with it and adjusting to it. Like anything else in life, you adjust to the problems if you can. It takes a lot of drinking.
I have a question on that note. The series is being played on cable right now, so you're being exposed to a whole new generation of watchers and young kids. Is that rebranded, or has it changed the impact of your turnout? So you're seeing some of the younger people come and react?
One of the nicest things that's happened, I think, to us, that we've been able to go on, and for example, when I do Family Guy, I get a whole different generation. But the wonderful thing about Batman is that you watch with your kids, then your grandson or granddaughter, and it's a whole family spectrum kind of show. And that's where we got lucky. And we tried to keep it as fresh as possible and as amusing as possible. And, you know, if a series is canceled after 3 years, 120 episodes, as ours was, as Star Trek was, and they've gone on too, it's amazing what happens. And somebody told me the other day that it's a matter of you can become bored or disinterested in the material. But if you have an affinity for, or if you really love the characters, Burt and me, I guess, in this case, then you go on. But and I think Burt and I got very lucky. It is a matter of luck, a lot of it. You know, we were given roles in a couple of things that we could do and do well and borrow from our own personalities. And it made it kind of genuine. And comedy has to be real to be played properly. You can't think you're funny, you know. Anyway, I don't want to get too serious and start to give an acting lesson because I'm not that good a teacher and probably a lousy actor. All right.
I have a question for the Burt, as you referred to him. We got a good classic Batman line from you. Do you have a favorite wholly blank Batman from your time?
I never said blank.
No, you didn't say blank. I just didn't want to feed you one.
Oh, well, no, I had 378, I believe.
But did you have one that just stood out where you read it and you went, am I really going to say this?
Yeah, I mean, actually I had one that people liked, I actually didn't like. It was something like, "Holy strawberries, Batman, are we in a jam?"
You see what I had to put up with. But the kids love that. And to try to explain it to your kids, why did Robin say that? You know, that's a challenge and something fun always.
How much creative control did you guys have in your banter? Was it that fluid chemistry between
Yes,
the
it
two,
was.
or was it all?
It all
written?
depended how far along we got in it before we got caught for changing the lines. And we did. We would. There was one time when Adam and I and Yvonne Craig as Batgirl were tied up in the Siamese human knot. And there was only supposed to be 2 lines. And Adam started ad-libbing, and then I started ad-libbing. And you know, they're filming, and it's going on like 20, 30 seconds, which is like 5 times longer than it should. And the director's, wait a minute, this is not in the script, cut. But so we would do whatever we thought we wanted to do within the general framework of not violating overall the total concept of the script. And sometimes they'd let us do it. Sometimes what we did was better than what they'd written, and sometimes they said, no, we gotta go back to this because we gotta make this point because in the next scene, you know, that sets up something. So it depended on the situation.
I have a question for Mr. Ward.
Yeah.
Especially with the way The Dark Knight Rises ended.
Yeah.
And you being as close as a person could be to Robin even before you got the job, what your thoughts were on what it would take to make a good modern Robin film?
Well, you know, I haven't seen this most recent film. I intend to, but I haven't seen the most recent film. And I was told that there are like 3 very clear references to Robin in the film. And I was also told that this last Batman feature was the end of the trilogy with Christian Bale. So I don't really know what to expect. My guess would be as good as yours, you know. But obviously they're going to try to do something that appeals to the audience that goes to theaters, not necessarily the total audience. Because remember, Batman that we did was in people's homes. We were in their living rooms. We were something that had to be presentable for children as well as adults. Whereas the films in the theaters today, you know, portrays Batman as violent as the villains he fights.
Just remember, they have their dark night. I am the bright night.
Guys, we got 1 more minute left, so...
Anything you want.
This question's for Burt. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about working and doing, you know, stage fighting with Bruce Lee. And, you know, were you able to teach him anything?
Well, no. Well, let me explain. Bruce and I lived in the same condominium complex. And so even though we had a scene together where we fought, on Batman because we had the same executive producer, William Dozier, who was producing the, the film, the series that he was going to be in with, Van Williams. So Bruce and I actually sparred. We actually did the fighting together, but it wasn't part of that. So when we did the scene on Batman, it was where the director had said, we don't want either of you to look like you're getting the upper hand on the other one because we're all supposed to be good guys, So they toned it down and stuff like that. But Bruce Lee was a great martial artist. He trained 8 hours a day. I remember going to dinner with him and his wife Linda, and when Brandon, his son, was like 6 months of age, we'd go down to the Chinatown, and of course he, being Chinese, could order all the most authentic stuff. But he was a great martial artist. But in that scene that we did together, it wasn't so much stage, it was just supposed to be like you're going to start to have a fight, and then it stops because the guys on both sides realize that we're all on the same team.
That's Mr. West. Quickly, your favorite Batman in the films, not you. Do you have a favorite?
No.
How can there be? All the others were actors. Adam and I, when people think of Batman and Robin, they think of the other actors as very fine actors. Okay, nothing to take away from them, but they're actors doing a role. We really, because of the way kids saw us, grew up with us, and now when people come up to us like today, what you get is not just children. You get a whole series of generations. You get adults that are in their, older seniors that watch Batman. Adults today, their children who now are parents, and the whole family watched Batman and still does. We're on actually 3 times a day. We're on twice a day on the Hub, and then on Meat TV coming out of Chicago. 7 days a week. That's a lot of exposure.
More than that in my house on the DVR. My 3-year-old, you're the only Batman and Robin he knows.
Oh, well, he has excellent taste.
Were either of you ever asked to do a Stanley style cameo, and Tim Burton, Schumacher, Christopher Nolan?
I wasn't, and I don't know, I can't speak for Adam, but I believe that the position they took was that they wanted to stay away from anything that could have any kind of lightness or comedy to it, because they were trying to portray this very dark night.
Even Schumacher?
Well, that's a whole different kind of thing.
Mr. West, did anything ever come your way like that? A Stanley style cameo in the films? No.
How do you feel about playing the Mayor of Quahog?
I have mixed feelings. He's very funny, and they say he's the funniest thing on the show, which is a nice compliment. But I have mixed feelings because many times I'm asked to say lines that I would never say in real life, which happens a lot to actors. But in this case, because he's so absolutely nuts, and I can use the quirkier parts of my personality.
And there are plenty.
Shut up. And I can magnify that stuff. It's really fun to do. Thank you folks for making us and me an Atlanta citizen.
Oh, yeah? We were given
Really
that
good.
award today.
This
I
is-
thought it was an arrest. We were going to get arrested.
So did
and
I.
it turned out that we were actually getting an award.
This is Adam West Day, and we appreciate your attention. Thank you.
Thanks all. Thank
We
you very
will
much.
go on as you will.
Thanks, gang.
I'm only 54.
I'm 15 and a half.
You
Thank
get
you so
it?
much.
You got it all good.
Hey,
Thank
how
you,
are you?
folks.
Rhode Island?